Most of the over-unders from one fat boy, and I'm giving my NBA game predictions for January 7th of 2022. Tonight there is 9 games. I got my spreads from FanDuel, and most of the over-unders from FanDuels, and filled in the rest with my thoughts. For the Spurs at the 76ers, I'll be going with Philadelphia minus 7.5. This is because Embiid is on the Sixers. He should be able to have his way against the Spurs, get to his spots, make his shots. Should be overall pretty easy win for the Spurs. The Sixers should roll them over. I'll be going over 214.5 as the Sixers should score and their defense should slow down the Spurs. So hence why I'm not going over over 220. Even though I do see that happening, as the Spurs, they can put up a lot of points, but they're also going to be held down. And the Sixers do have a very solid defense, so overall, Sixers are better on offense, they're better on defense. If they lose this game, that's kind of embarrassing. For the Jazz at the Hornets, so the Jazz, their injury report for January 6th is basically the whole team. So Toronto just has to beat the Jazz's bench, or what's even left of their bench. So I guess the Jazz's G League team, Toronto has to beat, which I see that happening. And Toronto, they should blow the Jazz away, or I guess would be the Utah Sound. Is there's nothing playing over there. I'll be going under 219.5, as I don't expect the Jazz to score that much, as Toronto's defense should hold them down. They're also playing at Toronto, so that should play into Toronto's favor. Toronto shouldn't really have a hard time with this. The only thing that should throw them off is just trying to learn how the Jazz are playing during the game, as they don't know who they're playing against. For the Bucks at the Nets, I'll be going with Milwaukee plus 4.5. Overall, with these two teams, I really don't know what to expect out of them each night, but since these are two top teams, and usually these types of teams, like when they play against other contenders, they show up to play, and so that means Giannis, he's going to want to play. Durant, he's going to want to play. So I expect those two to go head to head, have good games, pretty great games. And say the Nets were the underdogs, I'd probably go with the underdogs. I'm just going with the underdog in this case, just because it gives you the room for error with the plus. As the Nets win by 5, I do see that kind of a stretch, as I expect this to be within like 4 points both ways. So hence why I'm going Milwaukee 4.5. But going over 216.5, as this, well, each game can go this way, but this is either going to be very low scoring, as this is very hard on the defense, but they usually want to save that for playoffs. So I'll be going for a more offensive side of the game for over 260.5, as it'll probably end up being over like 222. If I were to guess, probably be like a 115 to 110 type of game for both teams. So somewhere in there, but over 260.5 seems pretty safe. For Washington at the Bulls, I'll be going with the Bulls minus 6.5, as the Bulls are the better team. I'm sure they want to get like a win that's more substantial, like by a bigger margin, so they're not having these closer games, as it's better to try to rest your players during the midseason. So hopefully the Bulls try and win it in the first half, but I do expect this game to be like within like 4 to 10 points most of the game, somewhere in there. But this should be closer up, but the Bulls should pull away in the second half, especially the fourth quarter, come out with a win. The Washington defense should not slow down the Bulls, and I think the Bulls' defense should clamp down on the Wizards in the second half if it's a closer game in the second half. But the Wizards can put up a lot of points, hence we'll be going over 220.5. For the Timberwolves at the Thunder, I'll be going with Minnesota minus 5.5. Minnesota has been playing well as of late. They're young, they're nimble. They play well together as a team, and they want to win. They have a lot of those effort plays that you look for. And then you have the Thunder, which is kind of the same version, but kind of like the devolved versions. Like they need that another Pokemon evolution. They'd be like the Timberwolves. Well, the Timberwolves need to get that next evolution to be like a contender for the finals. But with these two teams at point, I'll be going to Minnesota 5.5 as they should just beat the Thunder. Be going under 218.5 as Minnesota's defense should slow down the Thunder. I'm not 100% sure if the Thunder have all their players yet. I didn't check that, but even if they do, I think Minnesota has enough tools to slow down the Thunder. And Anthony Edwards, I'm sure he wants to have a good game against a weaker opponent, show that he can dominate the lower league. But I'll be going under 218.5 just because I don't expect the Thunder to score a lot of points, and then Minnesota make up the difference for the Thunder's low scoring. I don't see happening. For the Mavericks at the Rockets, I'll be going with Dallas -2. Dallas may not have everyone, but I think they've been playing well without Doncic enough that they understand their roles. Like players know their roles, they know what they need to do. Dallas should come away with a win, and if they want to stay in the hunt for the playoffs, they need this win. So, hence why I'm going Dallas -2. I'll be going under 218.5 as the Mavericks have been playing very well on defense. So I expect them to handle a youthful Rockets team defensively, hold down their offense. So, hence under 218.5 as Mavericks also don't score a ton of points in their own right. Like they shouldn't be passing the 112 mark. So, hence under 218.5. For the Kings at Denver, be going Denver -7.5, but I would more likely take Sacramento +10.5, as I feel like this is going to be a closer game throughout, but Denver should just pull away at the end, as I think Jokic is just a better player than just the Kings. Like, who's going to slow down Jokic on the Kings? No one. It's like the only thing they can do is just run like really fast, but once the game slows down, Jokic is just going to dominate. I do expect over 223, as I think the Kings will get those fast break points, get the easy baskets, while Denver, they'll get those too, but they'll dominate in the half court. But yeah, so if the Kings, if they just knock down their open shots and like run, they should keep it close, maybe win. But if the game slows down at all, and they are playing in Denver, I think it's just hard to beat the Denver Nuggets at their home arena, and Denver should be able to score a lot against the poor Kings defense. So Denver -7.5, over 223. For Atlanta at the Los Angeles Lakers, I'll be going Atlanta +2.5. And this is due to the fact that Capella is playing, and that should just slow down the Lakers' interior drive to the Atlanta's defense. So all of the Lakers' points will have to come from outside shooting. And then for the Hawks, they're getting most of their players back, but overall, I think there's just enough tools with them that they're still able to just get some certain shots that they want. They just got to pass the ball around, get some good ball movement, just hit the open shot, and then that should work out for them. The Lakers are in must-win territory, so I could see Lakers -2.5, but I'll lean towards Atlanta just because their defense can slow down the Lakers, and if they do that, it's like that gives them a good shot to win. And I'll be going under 228.5, as I expect the Hawks with Capella to slow down the Lakers enough that it will go under 228.5. For Cleveland at Portland, we're going Cleveland -4.5. I have no faith in Portland, especially the past month or two. I have no faith in them. And then the Cavs have been coached very well. They know their system. They can plug in the players that they need to. They know their role. So that in turn should just be enough to beat Portland. Over 216, as Portland can get hot. Like just for a quarter where they score like 35, and that should bring the total over 216. I think Cleveland will have be more consistent through the quarters. Probably just like close out the quarters better, get off the better starts in the quarters, just put the pressure on Portland. And so that'll just give them the win, and they'll score like 114 points. So Portland just has to score like 102. Like as long as Portland scores in like the mid 100s, I think the Cavs should score enough to win the game, as Portland's defense is non-existent, and Cleveland should just be able to knock down their open shots. And thank you for watching. Comment any of your opinions on the spreads, over-unders, any player pops that you think might hit. And once again, thanks for watching.